What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Zach1981 with another unboxing today. So this one's going to be brief because the next one's going to be on my car. I got bad weather over here right now, so I'm just kind of finishing up on this one. So I got something in the mail the other day, and I want to go ahead and unbox it for you. And in case you haven't looked, it's going to be involving something to do probably with helicopters, and I don't know if you know what this is, but that's a Soco digital pitch gauge. So you might know what this might contain. I'm going to go ahead and pop this open for you. Make a pause for a minute. Alright, so anyway, just took a pause for a second. So there's the box that came in. And this was wrapped in like a brown paper when it came, so I kind of got it kind of like prepped and ready to go. So yep, I don't know if you know anything about these, but this is an RC logger. So it's in a case. This is the finest one you can get from RC Logger right now. This is the RC Logger 2. So long story short, this is a 2008, probably 7 or 8 model. I had recently went out and got one of these guys in the last few years, and I like that and I dislike it in a way. This is a quicker technology still because of one thing I like about this altogether. Besides it being in a nice little case, the gauge can snap off with magnets. It's got little earth magnets on it. But this right here is a vertical, or not, I'm sorry, not vertical, but a horizontal mounting gauge. And this mounts your gauge horizontally for your blades, and as always, it slides just like this over your blades, and you can measure it, and then it makes the balance when you boot it up. And this would be the one that you'd use for your horizontal. This one here is for your axis going vertical. That'd be for your tail. This would be for your swash and for your main blades. So what I like about it is the fact that that speeds up process by probably 15-20 minutes. Downsides I do not like about the logger. I bought it because of how quick and easy it is on the fly. I can mount this thing up on my helicopter very easily. It's starting to rain over here, so let me close these up a little bit. Apologize for that. So the positives, like I said, is you can mount this to the blades very quickly and very effortlessly. And the firmware from RC Logger is already pre-programmed in this nice little carry-all box. It's got the firmware already updated from RC Logger, so you don't have to do anything with it. And I say firmware because it's firmware that's downloaded from RC Logger themselves before it's, when it's made. Number two is they've got a variation of this. They've got the 2, which is what I have, which says a little 2 squared. That's gauge 2. Gauge 1 was just like the Align 1 or the ones you can find for like maybe $15-20 on eBay, Amazon. It was just one display that showed just roughly the horizontal pitch of where your blades are. When you notice when I booted it up, it was split in half with 2 different gauges or 2 different measurements. So long story short, if you like that, you can get this, and it's called RC Logger Pitch Gauge 2. Now, I also like this. Now, the difference between this and this is this has a dish that has to mount to your grip. This thing has a tool with it that will mount to your grip as well. It's also a visual aid when you're mounting it. You have multiple ways of mounting this. So you've got the swash, you've got the horizontal, and you've got the vertical. Vertical will be for the tail, and then I'm going to move this down for a minute. So same idea. You take this out, snap your gauge in, and you are mounting it like this, or you can mount it like that. It don't make much difference, but you can measure it, and this thing's got a way of twisting the screen on it on any way you mount this thing to. So it's really cool. The snap ring, it goes around the gauge if you want to keep it on there for protection if you drop it. There's many of unboxing of this already. It's very dated. This is from like 2007 or 8, but it's still the quicker way when you're on the field in the flight, you know, ready to fly kind of deal. You can just grab this and go, and it's an all-in-one little carry-all case, and you're good to go. You slide it on your blades, and you can get a rough idea in a couple of seconds, you know, what's going on. Do you really have to go out of the way to really go into it and, like, you know, start balancing things? You can do that with just that one little gauge and the horizontal for your mains. Now, I'm gonna turn you back around. I do like this. However, that does not have software. This one requires software. Now, with that being said, the software is not just a firmware, but a firmware and software app. This, on the other hand, does not have that. So you would use your cell phone when you're all done mounting this up, which again mounts to you find the corresponding hole, and then you mount it up to your blade grip, and it mounts that in that orientation. Like I said, the downsides I have with that is this gauge is very expensive. This gauge costs about 65 bucks. Okay, this will cost 65 bucks if you pick and choose where you buy it from. But this you have to buy, you know, as one deal. And this right here, you can buy this as just the gauge itself and the horizontal that I showed you. So you could buy it with just this with the horizontal, or you can choose to buy the whole package like I bought, where you get it all. Now, if you pick and choose when and where you buy it, sometimes you'll get a deal. You can get it for maybe between $50 and $40. Some people have it for $25 and $30. Depends on when and where you buy it. I bought mine secondhand. I didn't need brand new. I bought mine for 15 bucks, and I had 10 to ship it, so it was like $25, $26. And I was very thankful for the person I bought it off of on eBay. They were great. They were gracious. It set me up. So again, this SOCO gauge, I have both now. I like this, but the downside is you have to mount this to your grip. This can be mounted to your blade grip, it can be mounted to your blades, it can be mounted multiple ways. Whereas this, you are confined to mounting it only to the blade grip. That means, guess what you got to do? These have to come off every time you balance them, both of them. Well, long story short, that's like a 15-20 minute pain in the rear, because you got to take them off. You got to get on a level surface, all that jive, and then you have to sit there and you got to play with it. Now, that being said, the software speaks loudly for itself with this. The software really does this thing justice. I know it's just it's probably, some people are going to say it's just an app, it's whatever, but you know what? The app really makes the product. It's not just the gauge and the dish. However, it is a more accurate way of measuring it off the blade grip, because, let me turn you back around. When you measure it from the blades, these can have a plus or minus pitch in them when you lay the gauge on there for the weight, because these are shimmed. So you might get a variance in it. There is no variance when you put it on the grip. That is on the main head. So if you've got a variance in this, it's because you got weak servos, or your servos are messed up, or you got other issues. So there's no lying when you put it on a blade grip. Be prepared that you might be off plus or minus a degree when you put it on the blades. That's just speaking my mind on that. Hands down, the SOCO is still, in my book, by far the better gauge. Only because of the fact it's got that badass software. Other than the software and the app, it's hit or miss. I could use that when I have more time to dedicate to it. When I buy a brand new helicopter and I'm itching to go out and fly, I'm going for this thing every time. when I want to fine tune something and I want to get it down to like a plus or minus, or have it spot on 0, I don't want to have any question whatsoever, I'll go to that once in a while. Number 2, this requires AAA batteries. Another thing that can also, A, can leak, and B, is hard to get to, because now you got a plate on there that you have to take the little Allen bolts out to swap. So you go out and buy some AA, or not AA, some AAA rechargeables that squares that away, so you don't have to worry about it leaking. That's another word of the wise. But like I said, I cannot speak about that app. That Toolbox app I have on my cell and on my devices is a bad-ass software. That will never, ever take the place comparing it to that. This thing is dated. It is a 2007 and 8 dated tool. It gets the job done. It does it just almost as well as this. But this is a pain in the rear to put on the blades. I'm going to speak about it because it is a pain. You have to take the blades off, and that just, like I said, it's a real pain in the rear. If you've got a SOCO gauge, you know what I'm talking about. You got to take the blades off every damn time. You got to run it through the software when you're done playing with it. You got to sit there and do everything. That logger will save you the extra 15-20 minutes easily, especially if you've got time constraints. You've got a issue with time. This SOCO is not going to be for you if you have time constraints. It's a pain in the rear, and it takes another 15-20 minutes plus to get what you want done with the SOCO that you could get done with the logger in a fraction of the time. But again, this thing will mount just like the SOCO on there with the little tool. It looks like a little antenna. They call it the visual aid tool. So this bar right here, you can take it out. It looks like a little antenna off your receiver. Not off your receiver, but off your transmitter. It's about the same deal as that. And what you do is you take your blades off, just like you would like when you're going to do the SOCO. The SOCO then mounts in between. So this has just enough passage to go in between your grip right here and mount up to the bolt. And you'd run the bolt through the hole, and then you've got the dish hanging off of here. Well, this thing here goes through the same idea, but up to the bottom where the threads come out. I'm going to take the gauge off so you can see. You see this right here? You have a thread. You thread that down like this, and it'll twist the gauge all the way around, or you can mount it underneath. It doesn't make a difference, but like I said, it's got the way to mount it. Or it's got a magnet right here, and you can still click the sucker on just like that. I prefer using the visual aid tool and mounting it, so I know for a fact it's not going anywhere. Like I said, again, very handy little guy. Like I said, there's not too many tools I would speak about on helicopters, because helicopters are a preference thing, a preference hobby, and everybody's got their opinion and everybody's got their way of boasting about what they choose to use. I fell in love with the SOCO gauge for the longest time. I've always wanted that faster way, and all the hobby stores and everywhere I've went to are using the old school logger, just like I'm using right now. This is a dated technology. Like I said, the very first one came out in like, what, 01? Back when they had fly bar shit. It's like, fly bars are a thing of the past, and these guys here have taken over with Beast X's and, you know, the Brains and the G4, G3s from the line, all those. You know, all those generated different gyros have taken over the game, and there's no more variances and shifting and the days of having to rip things apart and spending hours on end trying to figure it out. Those days are gone, because they've got a gyro that takes care of all that now. And it's just, but it complicated everything, because when you want to go to balance it out with your blades and mid stick everything, you really didn't have an all-in-one tool that got it done. Well, these are your two choices, and I'm telling you what gets it done. The SOCO, first choice. Second choice, logger. That's great for the field and great to get it done in a real fast hurry. When you want to fine-tune something, you get it done with this. But like I said, you're going to have $65 easily, unless you find someone who's got one used laying around. you'll spend 65, 50, 50, 60 bucks on this, hands down. But like I said, it's got little nuances like a retractable screen. That doesn't have that. And when you flick it on, you boot it up, and you turn this thing on and everything. And again, you can zero it out too. But when you zero this thing out, then you got other problems, because they want you to zero this thing out on a flat surface, and this doesn't go on a flat surface on your helicopter. This goes on your blades. I've gotten used to wherever it's zero to, that's where it's going on the helicopter, is zero. This thing here, you have to get into a habit of zeroing it out every time you go to use it. It's good practice. Like I said, it's like algebra. Okay? So a SOCO and a logger is like algebra. And like using a calculator or math. You can get the answer more than one way. The logger is a quick way to get an answer to what you're looking to seek. The SOCO is a long way around of getting the same thing, the same answer, but in a long, drawn-out process. However, it is more, I think, in the long run, the SOCO is a hair more accurate, all in how you use the logger, though. If you use the logger the same way you use the SOCO off the blade grip, it's probably a tie, other than that software for the SOCO. I'm telling you guys get the SOCO and you try it, you'll see what I'm talking about. You're going to hate it, you're going to dislike it. But when you have the app, there is a part on that app for the swash plate part on the toolbox. And I'm going to tell you something else. The app costs money. The app was I think 10 or 12 bucks. It was money well spent, because you have to buy the gauge, everything you see here, case, head, dish. And you get a couple, I think you get like a manual and a couple other things with it. A backup like rubber strap or something, which I've never used since I've had it. And the rubber strap isn't like the rubber strap for, I don't know where it is. It's in there. Yeah, here it is. See, it's not really a rubber strap. It's like a Velcro deal. But I never used it. That's if you want to really cinch it down. But again, this has a really awesome software, and I'm going to speak high. I'm going to speak very, very, very quality in mind on this, because that software is really, really nice. That software blows this away because there's no software with it. However, like I said, this is a fast and easy way to get the same rough answer. When I say rough, maybe within a half, maybe a half or a 16th or a 100th of a degree over this. This takes longer. The SOCO takes longer. It takes more time to get it done. This takes half the time, but gets you roughly what you're looking for in the same fashion. Now, if you run it off the blade grip, then there's no BS. But that software, you can still use this on the SOCO software where it gets to the swash, because it's going to want to, what you do is you input a bunch of figures in your phone. And what it does is it gives you like a calculator built in the app. And it brings up its own calculator that works with the app. And you put in the figures that are off off the logger or off the SOCO. And like I said, you're going to do a bunch of in and out stuff with the software. And then when you get done with it, it will curb where your settings are as to where your helicopter is sitting, if it's level, if it's off by 0.1 or 0.2, and it'll say if you get up to like 0.0 up to 0.3 or 5, it's flyable, but you really need to reconsult the software again and rerun it again and make corrections. Otherwise, hands down, the software and the SOCO are I still regard as a really, really good aid and tool. It's not a waste of money. I think it's a really good thing they got going on. It's just a long way around the same idea. But it's a different way of getting, a different process of getting the same answer. So, last little idea, this is the logger. It's my kind of like my heads up, kind of not really a review, just an idea of an unboxing and my thoughts of it. And like I said, when you got a brand new toy or a brand new helicopter and you just don't have that time to fiddle with it, it is hands down. The logger really will get it done in a quicker process. Not to say that the Soco is not worth taking a look at. They're both very nice. So if you take aside the software, it's both a draw. They're both really good. If you add the software in with this, hands down, it's a better tool than, I'm sorry, the logger is great and everything, but it is still, hands down, this is a better alternative. But I have them both. When you're out in the field, I'm gonna leave that at home. I'm taking this with me. It's on the fly. I can just get a rough idea and I can fool with it later on. With the Soco, if I really want to get into it and get in with my computer and get in it with my laptop or my tablet or my phone, wherever I have the app on, and I can really get down into business with it. So they're both good in their own way. I hope this helped anybody. Please rate and comment and subscribe what you guys think. Soco versus RC Data Logger. I had a couple people that couldn't be with me today, so I give a shout out to Tanya and I give a shout out to Dustin. I'm sorry you guys couldn't make it out today on the vlog. Maybe on the next one. So yeah, my camera help wasn't here today, so we will see you next time. So there you go. There's my deal here. Like I said, any recommendations out there as to what you think is better for a tool, I'm all ears on it. Helicopters are really a neat thing to get into, but they, like I said, they're a preference hobby. Everybody's got their own idea on it, so not necessarily what I'm saying take it to heart. I'm just taking it as as an opinion on what I think. So like I said, I hope you guys liked it. See you on the next one. Later.